If you support anything Harry Potter related, whether it be watching the new series, buying merchandise, or visiting a Harry Potter theme park, you not only support the ongoing anti-trans genocide, but child rapists. You are directly taking part in a project which is being used to rehabilitate the image of a close and personal friend of known child rape trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, someone who has been credibly accused of raping at least one 17-year-old girl and has been linked to Epstein's wider empire of sexual violence. As far as I see it, all Harry Potter symbols are an open declaration that said person supports the rape of children, specifically young girls, an association Joanne Kathleen Rowling seems perfectly okay with. Which is interesting, considering her history of targeting and abusing innocent trans women and even cis women of colour, such as Imane Halef, labelling her and her body an inherent threat to other cis women based off of white supremacist views on femininity. It really goes to show just how much of a lie Rowling has constructed in presenting herself as the defender of women and young girls, spending months targeting and abusing an innocent woman of colour for simply existing, only to be absolutely silent about the royal kitty fiddler her brand is being used to bleach the image of. So let's discuss that. But first, a quick content warning for the following: transmisia, intermisia, racism, fascism, and child sexual abuse. If our work has helped you, please consider supporting us via Patreon so I can keep the channel running. You can also help us by liking, commenting, and sharing our work on social media. I'd also just like to take this time to remind our viewers that statements made throughout our videos are the opinions of myself, the host, based on the evidence I have available to me. They are not and should not be taken as unquestionable fact, which is why we reference everything, because we're fallible. Thus we strive to give you, the viewer, the ability to check all evidence yourself in order to make up your own mind, which is what the reference numbers in the top left corner are for, being numbers that match up with the reference list found in the transcript linked down below. As such, we encourage all viewers to do their own research to reach an informed conclusion about the topic. Hi there, mine's Ethel Thurston, she, her, they, them, and we need to talk about child rapist and close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, being given VIP access to the new Harry Potter set, a place where child actors work, and Joanne Kathleen Rowling's deafening silence on said visit. This is, of course, a very important topic given the inherent risk in allowing a child predator around children in general, as well as the way Rowling loves to frame all trans women and AMAP MB folk as child-raping monsters who only want access to women's spaces such as bathrooms, a right they've legally been guaranteed in the UK since 2010, without a single incident, so that they, in Rowling's mind, can rape women and young girls. You know, the sort of young girls Jeffrey Epstein trafficked and Prince Andrew has been credibly accused of raping those young girls. And just to be clear, when I say credibly accused of raping young girls, I am speaking from my humble opinion as a human rights activist and CSA survivor based on the testimonies and corroborating evidence. This includes the facts that Prince Andrew personally flew out to New York to meet and talk with Epstein in 2010, after Epstein had been released from his 13-month sentence for raping a 14-year-old girl, a crime he pleaded guilty to. That's how close the pair was, and whilst Prince Andrew claims he only went to end his friendship, I don't fucking buy that bullshit for a second. Especially not considering how one of his victims, Virginia Giuffre, came forward about Prince Andrew's part in raping her as a 17-year-old girl at least 3 separate times, leading the royal family to settle rather than have the case explored in court, only for Virginia to die by suicide in April of this year. In fact, Virginia's memoir, Nobody's Girl, has just come out and seems to at least be partially responsible for the now former Prince Andrew losing both his titles and royal accommodations the very day I'm recording this video, though he'll still be living a life of luxury in the Sandringham estate in Norfolk, funded by the taxpayers' money. I'm sorry, King Charles III's personal finances, as if Charles and the rest of the royal leeches aren't funded by the taxpayers and their stolen land. The point is, even the royal family is having difficulty ignoring just how glaring the evidence is that they're having to hide him off to the side in hopes that the public just forgets about the millions they spent trying to shield this child rapist from justice. Hey, just a quick editor's note here. This is now confirmed. As reported by the BBC, emails were leaked in October of this year showing Prince Andrew continued to maintain contact with Epstein after he supposedly travelled to New York to end their friendship. So we know he lied when he claimed that that was his reason for meeting said child rape trafficker. Just wanted to add that here, but either way, I didn't buy Prince Andrew's defense before, I certainly don't buy it now. Do note, I will still be using Prince Andrew for the remainder of this video, as that's the title he's known by. As it turns out, back in September of 2025, Prince Andrew was given a VIP tour of a set for the new Harry Potter TV series, currently being produced by Warner Brothers and HBO, so more than a month ago. Yet, in spite of this, self-presented defender of women and girls, Joanne Kathleen Rowling, has said fuck all about the egregious risk of allowing a child rapist on the set of a children's TV show involving dozens upon dozens of child actors, let alone how this is a clear attempt to whitewash said monster's history of child rape by presenting him as a harmless grandfather just visiting the site with his grandchildren, turning a child rapist into a loving family member. That's the real Hogwarts magic. Now, I was visiting the in-laws when this story made its way into my circle, so I had to sit on it for a while, but when I made it home, the first thing I did was check Rowling's Twitter for any mention of Andrew or Prince, only to come up empty-handed. Same for when I searched for Epstein, which, considering the size of said scandal and Rowling's self-declared concern for child victims of rape, is very telling in and of itself. I also checked for Virginia Giuffre, both under her maiden and married name, neither of which turned up anything. Same with Google, which, keeping in mind both Rowling's and Prince Andrew's notoriety, I would have expected the papers to leap at the opportunity to report on such a condemnation. The closest I've seen to anything on Rowling's part was when she shared an article about Virginia's death 6 months ago, claiming that it broke her heart, whilst failing to explicitly name Prince Andrew's part in her suffering. Which, far from exonerating Rowling, makes things all the worse since it tells me that she was acutely aware of what Prince Andrew has done, and yet said absolutely nothing about said monster being given a VIP tour on a set containing children for the brand that made Rowling into the billionaire she is today, and that she continues to profit off of. Money she has pledged to a legal fund, which seeks to exclude trans people from public spaces entirely. Again, under the baseless assertion that trans women are a threat to cis women and girls for simply existing. So, on the one hand, Rowling sees terrorizing trans people under the pretense of safeguarding cis women and girls as something to throw her effectively infinite wealth behind, yet she cannot even bring herself to put out a statement about the literal child rapist being given access to the TV set of the brand, which is giving her the money to do that. In effect, Rowling is willing to sacrifice the safety of every child working on her new Harry Potter show by allowing a child rapist on set in order to generate money to target a vulnerable community. That's her priorities ringing out, loud and clear. And I say that there's no starker demonstration of Rowling's hypocrisy, but the fact is, this isn't the first time she's done this exact thing. Rowling rather infamously spent the best part of 2024 targeting and harassing Imani Halef, a cis woman of colour and Olympic boxer, during and after Imani competed at the 2024 Summer Olympics. Rowling asserted that Imane was intersex, and thus, in her mind, an intrinsic threat to cis endosex women and girls in sports. An argument based purely on racist prejudice towards Imane's body as a cis woman of colour. Rowling said absolutely nothing, however, about Steven van der Velde competing at those very same games, which is telling, seeing as Steven van der Velde is a Dutch volleyball player who was convicted of flying to Britain to rape a 12-year-old girl. So we have an innocent butch cis woman of colour looked up to by countless women and girls around the world versus a convicted child rapist, and Rowling just chose to ignore the child rapist to instead target said butch woman of colour. Hell, this isn't even the first time this sort of thing has happened on one of Rowling's series. Rowling was infamously silent when actress Antonia Kinley, then part of the TV adaptation of Rowling's Cormoran Strike novels, was fired for being pregnant. A court would later find said firing to be unlawful discrimination. Any actual feminist would have spoken out in support of Kinley, and yet Rowling was nowhere to be found, as is so often the case with actual violence against women, and even young girls. Because contrary to what she likes to pretend, she doesn't actually give a rat's ass about said issues. She only cares about making trans and intersex people suffer, along with cis lesbians, asexual people, Scottish people, Jewish people, fat people, autistic people, and anyone who isn't white, to name merely a few of the communities she's targeted over the years. So, with that made clear, I will be viewing any adult who knowingly engages with Harry Potter to be in support of not just the genocide of my people, but also allowing child rapists VIP access to children in order to try and sanitize their image. The Hogwarts coat of arms might as well be the symbol for child rapist everywhere. I don't fucking care if you grew up with it or not. You cannot consume Harry Potter shit and genuinely care about either children or trans people. It's impossible. You're emotionally fucked and you deserve to be hated for the selfish choices you've made. Fuck your total apathy. Stand with victims, stand with trans people, and especially stand with trans victims. They're the people who need support in all this, not selfish adults who refuse to grow beyond the fascist wet dream of a pro-genocide, pro-child predator hack. It falls on decent human beings to make every single Harry Potter adult uncomfortable, or better yet, outright miserable. When you see the symbols, demand to know. Why do you display the logo of a brand used to rehabilitate the image of a child rapist? Make them answer that question in public for all to hear. Make them squirm under the pressure. The same for every gender-critical fascist and supporter of Rowling's anti-trans crusade. Make sure that's one of the only things anyone asks when Rowling or her friends pretend to give a single flying shit about protecting young girls. Don't let them bury this. Hold every single one of them accountable for their complicity in this crime against basic human integrity. Child predators should not be given VIP access to children, period. A part of me can't believe that I'm having to say that, but the rest of me then remembers how the entire gender-critical movement is centered on sexualizing children. It's literally baked into their fundamental beliefs, as explored in our video, exposing the fascism of gender-critical feminism. So if you'd like to know more, do check that out. This just adds to the mountain of evidence that gender-critical fascists, Rowling included, are the very thing they accuse trans people of, making this an example of what we know as mirror propaganda. After all, this is the woman who declared Lolita, a story which romanticizes a 38-year-old man kidnapping and raping a 12-year-old girl, a quote, great and tragic love story, end quote, and ordered her many followers to take photographs of women and girls using public bathrooms before posting said photos online in order to dox them and scrutinize whether they are trans or not. Rowling really is a fucking monster. Though, what do you think? Will this finally convince Harry Potter adults to abandon Rowling's bile? Why has every news outlet, from what I've seen, failed to comment on this hypocrisy? How do we protect children from Rowling and her fascist child rapist enabling ideology? Did you notice something I missed? If so, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you appreciate what we do here and want to help keep us running, please consider becoming one of our wonderful patrons who make our work possible. You can also make a one-time donation via PayPal or Super Thanks on YouTube. On that note, we'd just like to thank the following people: Matthew Kovac, Flynn, Bo Ayer, Deborah Goldsmith, Higgins the Seagull, Jackie Sins, Mix Alba, and Peter Cole. And for myself, Adita and Levi, take care now.